our legislative chair, Lee, to introduce our honorable guest for today.
Thank you, Helen. Lee Lieberg, the president-elect of the West San Gabriel Valley Association of Realtors. And today I'm wearing my legislative hat and that I'm the chair of the legislative committee. But before I introduce you, I wanted you to meet some of our members. And if I could, I'd like to have all the board of directors please stand. All right, please stand and please remain standing, if you would. And then I'd also like to have the legislative committee stand. Helen is our vice chair of legislative. And then if you are not going to be going to Sacramento this year, you could sit down. All right, anybody else who's going to be going to Sacramento, would you please stand? If there's anybody else. Okay, there's a couple more. So just so the candidates know, each May we go up to Sacramento. You can be seated. We go up to Sacramento and we do our part to inform you, and we come visit your office and follow up on the issues that are important to real estate and also to the rights of property owners. So we have an exciting seat race this year because it's an open seat. And as most of you know, once you're an incumbent, you're pretty well there to stay until you get termed out. But being that this is an open seat makes this race more important. And we've got 3 fine candidates that have come out to interview for this, or to our forum. The seat was being created by Mike Ng, who was a good friend of the association, who was termed out. And well, I'm sure we'll see Mike in another capacity in another office before too long. But it's also a new district, so they've redrawn the lines, and then they've changed the voting procedure so that there's going to be an open primary, which will allow voters to cross over party lines to vote for a candidate. Where in the past, if you were a Republican, you could only vote for Republicans. If you were a Democrat, you could only vote for Democrats. But now with this open primary, you'll be able to vote for any of the 3 when you go. The way this process works is CAR has asked us to interview the candidates, and then we'll make our recommendation. We're going to have a straw vote afterwards, and then we're going to meet as a legislative committee and board of directors, and then we'll form a recommendation that will then go up to CAR. CAR may or may not agree with our recommendation, and then once CAR makes their recommendation, we're pretty much at the mercy of, or we'll have to be in line with them. So today, when you listen to the candidates, please remember that we're not Democrats, we're not Republicans, we're not Greens, but we're all Realtors. And let's look at this through our Realtor premise. And the format today is I'm going to call each of them. They're going to stay in their seats, and we'll pass the mic back and forth. They'll have 5 minutes to do an introduction, and then I'm going to ask them 4 questions. They'll all get a 1-minute reply to the same questions, and then once we're finished, we'll have a 2-minute conclusion by each of them. So with that, I would like to, well, let me introduce all 3 of them first. Ed Chow is the closest, and he is a trustee with the Montebello Unified School District. And in the middle is Mitchell Lane, who's a council member from Monterey Park. And the third one is Dr. Matthew Lynn, who is a former mayor of San Marino. So with that, Mr. Chow, would you begin?
Thank you very much for introduction, Lee. And good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Ed Chow, and it's great to be back because I've been here in the past, I understand. I want to start by giving you an introduction of my background. About 40 years ago, my parents gave up everything to immigrate to this great country so that my 3 sisters and I could get a good education. after we arrived, my father worked as a parking lot attendant. My mom was a seamstress in a factory, and I waited on tables to put myself through college. And I did manage to get 2 college degrees, one in computer science and one in sociology. And then I started working for a couple of companies, Burroughs Unisys Corporation and also IBM Corporation as an engineer. But I wanted to do more, so as a result, as I was working full-time for IBM as an engineer, I also went to law school at night. And after 4 years of law school, I graduated with my law degree, passed the bar, and started law practicing. And it's been almost 17 years now since I've been a lawyer serving the community. In fact, most of my 17 years I served in the San Gabriel Valley area. And the areas that I practice in include businesses, real estate, landlord-tenant, immigration, and litigation work. And also for the past 10 years or so, I also served as a judge pro tem for the court, the Los Angeles Superior Court. This is my way of giving back to the community. I don't get paid for it. I do it on a pro bono basis. And the kind of cases that I do include civil cases and also small claim cases, some real estate related and landlord-tenant as well. And I also am a licensee. In fact, I have a broker's license for, say, about 8 years or so. Some of you may know that many attorneys, they are also licensees. So that's why I've been here before, attending many of the seminars you guys hosted. So thank you very much for doing that. In fact, one of the gratifying experiences that I had is the fact that about 12, 13 years ago, I also ran for the Montebello School Board. In fact, maybe I should stand up because I see some of you are trying to look at me. Would that work better?
Yeah.
Thank you. And as I mentioned, about 12 years ago, I ran for the Montebello School Board when the opportunity presented itself. I came in #1. The reason I ran for school board was because of the fact that I value education. I realized the importance and the power of having a good education, and because it opened many doors. So I ran and I came in #1. And ever since that, I've been on the board 3 more times. This is my 4th term on the school board, and I served as the president of the school board 3 times. Montebello, by the way, is a very diverse community and very diverse school district. It is indeed the 3rd largest school district in LA County, right after LA Unified and also Long Beach Unified. We do have about 30,000 students and also about 3,000 employees. We work very closely with the students, and I'm very proud to say that over the years we have a substantial increase in our test scores, about 160 points over the last 8 years. And a few months ago, we were also able to open a brand new technology high school, something we call the Applied Technology Center, which is a $30 million high school that we built, basically started from scratch. We acquired the land and then we built from scratch, which is one of the very few projects that other school districts can claim. Now, what's unique about that school district, that new school, is the fact that in addition to providing students with the ability to pursue their secondary education, namely A to G, they could also select a career pathway starting with the 8th grade. So in 8th grade, they could actually choose and pick and choose an area that they like to go into. For example, building trade, engineering, hospitality, or public service or / government. So they actually, when they graduate from high school, they could land in a job without even looking further. So that's something that we're very proud of, and I notice my time is coming up, so I'm going to leave it at that, and then we'll open it up for questions and then follow up. Thank you very much for your attention.
A lot of people describe California as a great melting pot of different cultures. People from all parts of the globe come to reside here. Whether you or your ancestors came across the Pacific or the Atlantic Ocean, whether you or your ancestors came north of the border or south of the border, you and your ancestors decided to stay because of what this state and this country has to offer. and that's the ability to pursue the American dream, and hopefully that means owning a home. I'm Mitchell Lang. I'm the Vice Mayor of the City of Monterey Park. I was a former mayor, and I will be sworn again as mayor in June of this year. I've been elected to office for 11 years, twice as city treasurer for Monterey Park, and that's why they gave me the name Fiscal Watchdog, and twice on the City Council. Professionally, I've been a banker for the past 24 years. Some of you know me because I started my career at Home Savings of America in Monterey Park, and I later became a branch manager in the Fairfax district. I later went to Bank of America after Home Savings as a commercial lender, and I was responsible for 22 branches, from Koreatown all the way through the San Gabriel Valley, all the way to Walnut, and including Westminster and Garden Grove in Orange County. I provided financing for small businesses and commercial lines of credit and commercial real estate for all 22 branches of Bank of America. I later joined Wells Fargo, and currently I'm with Citizens Business Bank in San Gabriel, managing the accounts for municipalities, school districts, not-for-profits, and educational foundation. As an assembly member, these are the goals in which I'm going to pursue. California needs to balance their budget in a timely manner, and I strongly believe if the budget is not balanced, that the assembly members should not be paid. Number two, stopping the UC and the Cal State system from doubling their tuition in the next 4 years. And I know it's going to be even worse with the fiscal budget that we're facing now. Number three, stopping elected officials from receiving lifetime health benefits after serving only 5 years in local and state government. Number four, reforming the California pension and resolve the unfunded liabilities. The state does not have enough money for those who are projected to retire in the future. That has to be resolved. And addressing the high unemployment rate in our district. El Monte has an unemployment rate of over 15%. And number six, stopping the corruption in our community that has watched our elected officials go to jail and be indicted. My wife and I are longtime residents of Monterey Park. My wife grew up in Monterey Park. She's a senior attorney for Southern California Edison for the past 24 years. And we have 2 children who are grown up. They'll be 21 and 17 this year. And we were proud to support the youth in our community. We decided 10 years ago that we wanted to give back to the community, so we created 92 scholarships, each for $500, to be given to high school seniors of Marquette, Sher High School, and Garfield High School. I was asked to chair the fundraising committee for the Alhambra Unified School District's 2009 Pasadena Rose Bowl marching band that performed in 2009. And I was asked to raise $150,000, in which we did through 6 banquets, which I chaired. I'm proud to be a member of the Pasadena Tournament of Roses, which I serve, Alhambra Rotary, and I'm also the district chairman of the Mission Amigos Boy Scouts of America, which represents Alhambra, Monterey Park, San Gabriel, Rosemead, El Monte, and South El Monte. I graduated from UCLA in '85 and obtained my MBA in '89 at Cal State LA in finance. And with my financial background, I realized that California is in a mess. In fact, it's dysfunctional. You have 2 sides that don't want to talk to each other. Both sides think that they're winning, but in fact, we're all losing. If you talk to the small businesses in the area, they'll tell you they're leaving for Nevada, Arizona, where there's less regulation. Somebody needs to voice their concerns up in Sacramento, and hopefully I have your support. Also, the fact that everything is connected to real estate, and hopefully there'll be a question regarding the slowdown in the economy, because I'd like to address that also. There was a Harvard law professor in bankruptcy that said that the 3 reasons why people are filing for bankruptcy is job loss, number 2 is the healthcare costs, and number 3, a disruption of the family, which could mean a divorce or a death. But we have to address this because the reason is bankruptcy attorneys are seeing that students with student loans are now filing for bankruptcy. And they think that that meltdown, that crisis is going to be as great as the residential meltdown that we've experienced. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Lin. I'm an orthopedic surgeon practicing this area for the last 34 years. To come here, I researched for the car.org. I used to have my real estate license in early 80s. I didn't tell you, but I never used it. But when I researched it, I found out how much work your guy doing it. How much you can contribute to our society. Congratulations, you guys did a good job. Give yourself a good pat, please. Thank you. Now come back to me that I'm an orthopedic surgeon, and besides doing that, lately I've been invested with my partner, Dr. Jonathan Wu. So we own 7 hospitals in this district. We own every hospital that in here except the Methodist, and we have about 7,000 employees, and I have about 30 to 40,000 of my patient base in this community. What I do is my childhood dream is I always want to go out to serve the people underserved. That's what I did in the last 15 years. I go to about 30 different medical missions. When there was an earthquake, I was there trying to make some medical relief. But I went to Africa 5 times. When I come back in August, I was asked to help the free clinic in El Monte. I stand there, give out the food to the people. I realized California shouldn't lose that much job, shouldn't lose that much house. A lot of people lose their apartment, lose their house because they lose their job. So I talked to myself. I sat down with Mike Antonovich for 3 hours. Finally, he convinced me I should do it. That's why I declared my candidacy in December. My goal is I want to create a job for the people to stimulate the local economic. I think the best welfare system in this California is job. You know, you should not really. And then my second thing I want to do is education. I think education is all the hope of our children, our future in California. Third, I agree wholeheartedly with Mitch, my good friend. California had to balance your budget. You and I balance our budget. We balance our budget in our business. I balanced my budget in my city council when I was served 8 years and 3 terms as a mayor for our city. We balance budget every year. There's no reason California cannot balance their budget. I agree with Mitchell. If I was there, I would ask them to reduce the assembly members' salary to half until they balance their budget. I think that will do it. And I'm a healthcare provider. Thank you. Thank you. I'm a healthcare provider the last 34 years, and I want to be sure healthcare should be high quality but affordable for every employee and every employer. Right now, a lot of waste is there. California, too much waste. Instead of increasing their tax, what they should do is they should cut their waste. There is no more new tax. I think if you read the California Performance Review, there are 1,200 issues that affect California. If we, for example, merge between the Board of Equalization and the Franchise Tax Board, they have over 85% overlapping. Will save about $4 billion this next 5 years. On and on and on. I think they should cut their waste instead of raise the tax. By saying this, that where I come from, I grew up in a very small remote village. My father is an orphan, so he never graduated from elementary school. He was washing dishes, sell groceries on the street side, and then we moved to Taipei, the biggest city. I remember we stayed in a room about 100 square feet, 8 of us side by side, right down there, shared a kitchen for about 4 families. And I come to the United States, my mother sold her life saving of $300 in my pocket. That I started my American dream. I rented an apartment in Monty Park, cross street from Garfield Medical Center. That was 34 years ago. 34 years later, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to pay back to our community. And I wish I get your support. I believe if we work together, this race open primary, there is no so-called Republican or Democrat. California is strong because 2 parties working together. California is strong because we all work together. I think with your support, we will turn California around. And I thank you for your help. With some respect, you guys do a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Very good. Well, I know that we'll be well represented in Sacramento, regardless of which candidate we select. But now is the opportunity for you to answer some questions that are specific to our interest in real estate. And I'm going to read the first one, and then we'll put them up on the overhead for you. Often, governments would like to impose a retrofit of something in a home when it is for sale. For example, a toilet retrofit to save water, or an energy audit. We call these point-of-sale requirements and believe what is good for a home seller is good for all homeowners and should be required by everyone, not just those who sell their homes. What is your position on these type of requirements? And we'll start, this time we'll start with Mr. Ng in the middle, and then go to Dr. Lin. We'll go 1, 2, 3.
You know, specifically when you're talking about toilets and saving water, I remember when they first was introduced, and people, I guess, didn't realize, even though it was a smaller tank, you sometimes have to flush twice.
Right.
And so the ultimate result was worse than what you hoped for. I always believe in a point of sale in which it conserves water and energy in a community. I would support something at the time of sale requirement because that's easier to monitor. To monitor existing properties and require it is going to be a little more difficult to regulate. But I do support anything that conserves water and energy, especially in a state that's really desert. So, with that.
Well, I invest everything in this state and in this district, so anything really going to hurt the transaction, I'm against it. If we have, yes, thank you. Thank you. If we have some rule passed to help environment, I will go for it. But I only go for it when everybody doing it, but not penalize people when doing the transaction. A lot of regulation like this, they go up with good mean, but they cause a lot of trouble. Those cause a job loss, cause a transaction difficulty. So I go against it unless they say everybody should change our toilet, then we'll change it. But during the transaction, we should treat it equally just like everybody else does it. So with this, I would say a lot of California have a lot of regulation there. Their intention is good, but when their performance, they really hurt a lot of business. They hurt not only real estate, but hurt medical environment, they hurt the job. Some of them really cost a lot of job in our community. I will against it. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. As a lawyer, I believe in equity. I believe that everybody should be treated equally. And so as a result of that, I support something that would be very fair to everybody, not just when transaction is being consummated. So I think I would propose something like periodic, regulated, or self-checking kind of mechanism for which all homeowners are treated equally. So we'll be against that regulation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next question is, what is your position on any changes to Prop 13?
I think Prop 13 is good. That's the reason to stimulate our economy in California. I do not think they need to change it. So I would propose not to change it, unless some changing you're going to propose I did not know of.
No.
We have not proposed any changes.
I will protect the Prop 13 just as I protect micro. Those kind of unnecessary litigation against the homeowner, against the realtor. And I think we should have a tort reform. So any changing, I'm not agree with. Thank you.
My position on Prop 13 is as follows. I think we need to look at Prop 13 again because as a result of Prop 13, much of the funding actually is shifted to the state level, which basically controls all the school district. From a school district standpoint, we depend heavily, a great deal, on the state's allocation of funds, basically. So whenever the state does well, then school districts does well. But as a result of that, we are being controlled by the state government. So school districts generally derive most of the funding from the state. So we need to look at Prop 13 to see whether or not some local control can be shifted back to local in that regard. Thank you.
I've always said in our community that our greatest investment that we all have is our homes, and that every decision that we have to make should protect and preserve our greatest investment. I don't see anything wrong with Prop 13, as I agree with Dr. Lin. I believe that it's there to protect homeowners, and I believe it's there to protect the residents and their investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Our third question today is, what is your position on the 710 tunnel?
That's right, you got it. It is a hot potato, and my personal view on 710 is that we need to complete it. I think we need to find ways to address some of the issues that has been brought on the table. However, I think there's been proposals that we do underground tunnels, and I think we need to study up on that. And I think if we were to complete it, we need to make sure it does not disrupt the lives of the residents that's being impacted.
A freeway was never meant to end in Alhambra. And I know this topic is going to be debated, and implementation, whatever it is going to take probably 30 years. But if you're driving along the 10 freeway and you're exiting to Alhambra, you slam on your brakes even a quarter mile, half a mile before the exit on Atlantic and Garfield and you realize it's because the traffic lights in Alhambra is dictating the movement of the freeway traffic. I think that's pretty dangerous, and Caltrans needs to see that. The reason why people are exiting and it's bottlenecking along the off-ramp is for the fact that we don't have a continuation of that freeway. We have to pursue a continuation of the freeway, whether it's tunneling or above ground. I know there's northern cities that are totally against it. I understand their position. Obviously, homeowners have to be compensated in Alhambra and South Pasadena if we're going to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have enough study for the last 50 years. If you want to study another 50 years, go ahead. But I'm not those type of person. I think this freeway need to be completed, and we have enough study. Underground, move forward. And we just find the money sources. I don't see why we need more study to cost more money. And there's some consultant here want to make some money for study. But I think we need to get a freeway pass. In my city, when I was a mayor, I made a proposal in our city, San Marino, before they were hasted. We are all for the 710 freeway to be completed. I'm still standing firmly on that position. I do not think any more study is needed. 50 years study, if you don't think enough, another 50 years we'll not finish the study. Thank you.
Okay, I think this one will go to Mr. Ng. What is your position on Governor Brown's proposed tax increases?
I've always said in my city, if the city is run efficiently, I have to look internally to make sure there's no government waste before I go to the taxpayers and ask for their money. I've always said that in my community. And for years, as an elected official, as city treasurer, and also on the city council, I look for the inefficiency in government before I turn to the taxpayers. Governor Brown is proposing now a 1/4% interest in sales tax, and also an increase in income tax for those who make $300,000 or more. Okay. I believe that, in all fairness, I think people generally would think and feel that we don't mind giving up something as long as we know that government is efficient. Until we reach that stage, I know it's not going to be passed. I believe the voters of California are not going to pass those tax hikes.
Thank you. Not until the government cut off all the waste that we see there, there's no reason for them to raise the tax. They have not done anything to be business friendly, to relocate the business to California. They have not done anything to stimulate local economic. They take away the redevelopment agency from our local government to the state. How much are they going to take away from our people? I'm really against this increasing of the tax. I think they should do something to give people more incentive to grow local economic, even by something for the real estate transaction. You know, a lot of real estate transactions, they make a lot of money. They make money from the real estate. Why should they increase the tax? I couldn't understand it. Waste need to be cut it before they increase the tax. And if they cannot cut the waste, there's no way they're going to balance the budget. The more tax you go, the lower revenue they will receive because they will hurt the economic. Based on the job creation, based on our economic, I'm really against the increase of tax. Thank you.
You know, when it comes to budgeting, I'm generally in favor of a combination of budget cuts as well as taxes. Because look, folks, realistically, can we balance our budgets by simply making cuts? I agree that we need to cut all the fats. I agree that we need to look at all the abuses and weed out all these abuses, and we need to expand. We need to beef up our efforts on collection. I think, you know, either it's the Franchise Tax Board or other agencies. We need to spend our effort in collecting taxes that are due to government. That's number one. And I think we need to look at all the potential areas that we can raise taxes. For one thing, I am in favor of looking at the oil severance tax. I think if we can earmark part of that to education, to educate our next generation, I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And now we'll give each of you 2 minutes to do your conclusion, and we'll start with Dr. Lin.
Well, 2 minutes is not enough for my conclusion. I spent 50 seconds already. But I want to thank you for the opportunity to come here to meet you and see all the familiar faces. You guys do a good job for our community. I believe once I go to Sacramento, I'll do my job, create a job, balance the budget, get a better education, and reform the health care to affordable to everybody. And I'll come back to you from time to time to see what problem you have, to see what can we do to get a stimulate economic, to see what can you do to get a real estate transaction much smoother. And I do not like to see many houses to be foreclosed. In any way that we can do it to prevent from foreclosure, that I would do it. You know, we need to give some underserved people more of the leeway. But to say this, I will work very hard in Sacramento for you if I earn your support. Thank you.
I also like to thank all of you for being here and taking time to listen to the three candidates. And I've been very fortunate to have received the endorsement of Assemblyman Mike Ng. I'd like to follow his footsteps when I get elected. My wife and I have a 4-year-old daughter, Caitlin. I want Caitlin to grow up in an environment where she can get a good education and be able to compete globally, where there's a clean environment, where people respect each other for who they are, and also where business thrive. So those are some of my objectives, and I'd like to extend an open invitation to all of you to provide input as we work together and find solutions to many of the problems that we face at the state level. So thank you very much again for your time and attention. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the West and Gabriel Valley Association of Realtors for inviting the candidates here. In fact, this is the first nonpartisan forum that we've actually experienced. So for Dr. Lin, Edwin, Chow, and myself to be part of. My wife was the first person I asked if I can run for assembly, because it is a commitment, because you're up in Sacramento for 4 days of the week. Well, my wife was a college student before law school. She actually interned with State Senator Montoya, who ended up going to jail. And my wife had always warned me in the past, Sacramento politics is very dirty and very ugly. So when I did ask her, she said, you know, our children have grown up. We waited. My daughter's going to be 21 and my son's going to be 17 in the next couple months. She said, if this is the time, it's an open seat, go ahead. I don't want any regrets in my life 10 years from now that maybe I had a solution to this infighting that's going on in Sacramento. I think I can provide the solutions and have my fiscal discipline that I have throughout my years in Monterey Park, because I understand my fiduciary duty professionally too, that it is the public's funds. It's not our money that we're spending, it's the public funds. So hopefully I have the support of the association. Look forward to meeting all of you. I've known some of you for 24 years now, when I was at Home Savings of America. But I want to thank you once again for this forum. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. As you can see, we've got 3 excellent candidates, and I appreciate each of the 3 of you taking time from your busy schedules to come out and meet with us. And I also want to express my appreciation for your willingness to throw your hat in the ring and contribute to our political system. And I ask that when you go to Sacramento that you not forget about your constituents and you keep in mind who it is that you represent. But thank you very much, and we will conduct the rest of our business, so you are free to go ahead and leave. And one more round of applause for our